Okay, so we'll speak about that. There is a challenge, I think. There's a challenge in this time which everyone went through. I think in America you went through the same thing. There was a challenge. The challenge is that you had to base the Avodas Hashem on your own. And this revealed all different kind of things. Now, we have to be careful, and I want to first make that clear. We have to be careful from a way of thinking which is very a common thing, that you say, okay, we don't have a tzibur so much. That happens by us over here in Eretz Yisrael. That happened by you, and I don't know what will be. But we don't have a tzibur so much, and even in Yomim Neuroim, there will be places, I think also in America, where the tzibur won't be as big and as strong and as thriving as it was every year. So that is there in order to reveal what's the real truth. Because you see, till now you were relying on this community, but now you have to rely totally on yourself, and that's the real truth. I think this is a wrong thought, because the Torah says you have to have a tefillah b'tzibur. The Torah says you have to have a hakel. The Torah says a tzibur is a double kodesh. You have to come to the Beis Hamikdash with everyone. And there was a big shtuparei there, you know. It was a big gathering. So Torah is based on that. So what is that being based on a tzibur? And this is a very basic thing for the Yomim Norim, you'll see. What is this thing that you are based on a tzibur? What does it mean? The based on a tzibur means that the yesod of the benefit of a community is that you are nispol. It touches you more. There is an impact on the nefesh Adam when he is together with another 200 people, another 1,000 people. The personal impact on him is much bigger. And that's what the Torah wants. The Torah in these mitzvahs, or in tefillah, wants that the tefillah should have an impact on you. Rabbi Yisrael calls that tefillah is based on his peiles. You are nispol. You are touched by it. It makes an impact. Tefillah is not a question of having the right pshat in the words. Tefillah is a question of being touched by this maimet, by this unbelievable meeting with the Borei Olam. You are touched by that. Being touched by the tefillah is much more in the tzibur. But now, when we were facing the problem that the tzibur was not the central point in our Avodas Hashem, we have to find a way that Avodas Hashem is touching us without that. It's not the truth, it's not the ideal matzav, but it is a challenge. And this is a challenge. When we are facing up with that challenge, we will build a tool for all different kind of places where the Hashkocha could put us. I remember myself, when the Mashgiach told me, Rav Wolbe, he told me that he has a big longing. He was not a person which has nostalgia. He was not a nostalgic person at all. But he always was longing for a Rosh Hashanah when he was a bocher. He should go back to that place where he was then, in the Nefesh, going back there. What was it? He was by Rabbi Reuven. He was in Mir Yeshiva. It wasn't the Rosh Hashanah in the Mir Yeshiva. It was the Rosh Hashanah in Sweden when he was alone. And he was visiting places which came from the lagers, a DP camp, and he was visiting them, and he spoke with them, and he sat next to people, and he was a little bit blowing shofar, and a little bit saying something you can tell them, but there's no tzibur there, there's no chazor hashatz, there's nothing like this. You are entirely on your own. But the Rosh Hashanah was captivating him. And when he went out of after the 2 days, he went away from this DP camp, he told me that he saw a world with the Ribono Shel Olam, which till then there was a world, and the Ribono Shel Olam guided the world. But after that Rosh Hashanah, he saw a world which was a manifestation of the Borei Olam. That's what he saw. He saw the world is with the Borei Olam. That's the reality. And all his life, he wanted to go back to that point. And he was alone. That means he was able to create such a tremendous hispailas of the Teuchen of Rosh Hashanah alone, without the support of the Kehillah. Even though the support of the Kehillah is Kodesh Kodoshim, because you have to have a Tefillah B'tzibur, for sure. But once in a while you don't have. But then you can reach a Madrega too of hispailas by yourself. So how do you prepare yourself for that? So this, I think, is a challenge which we are facing over here in Eretz Yisrael, the way I was asked beforehand, that we are facing over here that we are not really with the regular tzibur. I believe that there are places in America which are in the same situation. And I know that all of the places in America went through that. So when we have such a challenge in Avodas Hashem, it's not only to make us stronger and doing the same thing as we did beforehand. Such a challenge in Avodas Hashem calls for thinking what are the means which we can produce in order to be Oved Hashem also in this non-regular situation. So in other words, how do I create that the Tefillah and the Rosh Hashanah should really speak to me? How do I do that? Now, there is a point in our Avodas Hashem which we want to be the right people. There's a point in Avodas Hashem which we are doing to a very big extent. And we are always doing that. But I think there's a possibility to change direction. What we are doing always is proofreading ourselves. Are we correct? Did we do the right thing? Do we do the right thing? Do we do the correct halacha? Are we doing the correct things? That's a very big thing. But it is like making a list of what you did and making a checklist, whether you did it or you did it well or you did it less. You call that cheshbon hanefesh. I am not so used to these words, but you call that cheshbon hanefesh. I always was wondering, you would have to call that cheshbon hamaisim, because you're machashbon your actions. Where is the nefesh? You don't make a cheshbon hanefesh. You make a cheshbon hamaise. A tefillah vi, birchas hamazon vi, learning have we. You know, I had there nix. I am a very big man. I made cheshbon hanefesh. But you made cheshbon of your actions. You were not making a cheshbon of your nefesh. You made cheshbon of your actions. Where is the nefesh? I think one has to rethink our approach to Avodas Hashem, which is a very good approach that we are doing, and we try to be correct, and we try to be righteous. But there is another approach in Avodas Hashem, an approach which is a whole world and a whole part of Avodah which we are missing. The approach, when I would say it in 2 words, the approach is called, now be careful or be calm, the approach is called Hakoras HaToif. Now, we all know that Hakoras HaToif means I have to be thankful for what I got. I have to have a koros hatoiv to the Borei Olam. But that's not the yesod of avodah. That's the fuel of avodah. That is what makes me motivated. You got so much from the Borei Olam. You got air to breathe. You got parnasa. You got health. You got a family. You got a home. You got shoes. You have to do something for that. You have to pay back. So the hakoros hatoiv is not a yesod for avodah. The yesod for avodah is to be righteous. I have to be correct. But I don't always have the motivation to do everything in a correct way. Because why should I do it the correct way? It bothers my normal life. But you are getting so many things from the Borei Olam. So you have to be a little bit makir tova. You have to be thankful to the Borei Olam, and then you will do what you are obligated. But the yesod avodah is still obligation. But I think hakoros hatoiv is a real yesod for avodah. It's not only a fuel for doing the right things. It's a yesod for avodah. I always face a big opposition when I tell over this Meise from the Mashgiach. Then the Mashgiach told me that when I learned with him, and I learned with him things which other people didn't learn with him, and it was a big chiddush. It was a big thing, because I was a young man, and I didn't know really why does he learn with me all these things. But he learned with me, and we opened up Sforim, which normally you don't open up. So that was a very deep gratitude to the Mashgiach. So every time I went out, I said, thank you very much. After a year, the Mashgiach was fed up with that and said, Leuchter, please, don't tell me thank you. Why shouldn't I tell you thank you? That was like a culture clash. I am a Swiss person, and for sure I say thank you when you give me something. And especially you give me something so special and not what you can get anywhere else. I for sure tell you thank you. So the Mashgiach said, no, don't tell me thank you. I learned with the Rosh Yeshiva for 11 years, and I never told him thank you. Why not? Because I knew that whatever he taught me, that was there in order I should in one way or the other use it for others. It's not for me. I am not the end station. So my eyes were very big. That means when I say thank you, what we call thankfulness, what we call hakoros hatoiv, this is a way of getting rid of the obligation to the other. I just cut it off. I just keep it by me. Now it stays by me. I pay you back. You gave me the thing. I tell you thank you, and now it's mine. Mashgiach said, no. You have to stay connected to it. Don't detach it. Stay connected. Deal with it. Let it dwell by you. And it's not for you. You have to give it further. That was an unbelievable lesson in what means thank you in our community. It means not thankfulness. It doesn't mean hakoros hatoiv. It means that I have paid back and now I'm fine. Hakoros hatoiv means something else. Hakoros hatoiv means I recognize the good you gave me. And that's a yesod ba'avodah. We have to recognize the good in the avodah. This unbelievable goodness that we can't speak to the Borei Olam. How can you make it, because think about that you are allowed to tell the Borei Olam, Ato. I think your president doesn't allow that. You can't tell him you. You have to tell him Mr. President. When you go to England, the Queen of England, you have to say, I don't know all these things, but it ends with Her Majesty the Queen. That's what you have to do. Comes the Borei Olam, and you tell him Ato. Wow. That's an unbelievable tova that the Borei Olam gave you, that you can tell him Ato. It's unbelievable taiva that you get up in the morning and you don't just do what a person, a Gentile does, that he goes into the car straight from bed, he shaves himself in the car, goes out of the car with a coffee in the hand, finishes the coffee and goes to work. It's unbelievable taiva that I can begin my day with a Moide Ani, with a Adoi Noilam, with Birchas HaShachar. It's not the Hakoras HaToiv, which is, how do I have to be Makir Toiv that I can't see because I would have to be blind? No, it's not this way, and I don't like that. I don't like to begin my day with a morbid thought that I could be blind and Baruch Hashem I'm not blind. I could be crippled, Baruch Hashem I'm not crippled. I don't have enjoyed that I should think about myself in this way. No, it's a very simple thing. It's a Toive. The Etzem Birchas HaShachar is a teiva. It's not what I got from the Borei Olam in my bodily life only. The Avodas Hashem is a teiva. It's an unbelievable depth which I get from the Borei Olam. An unbelievable opportunity I have to daven. I have an opportunity to say Birchas Hamazon. And those opportunities, they are different opportunities. They are not all the same. The opportunity to have a Birchas Hamazon is another than the opportunity to daven. The opportunity to put on tefillin is a different one than the opportunity to put tzitzis. Every single mitzvah is its own opportunity. It's an own opening, which the Borei Olam gave me. Look, I gave you this unbelievable teiva. We are not used to do that. And you think now, that's Hasidic rate, perhaps that could be. But the Nefesh HaChaim says it. And I think the Nefesh HaChaim was the one which created the yeshivas. So he was the prototype of a yeshivisher, was the Nefesh HaChaim. But the Nefesh HaChaim says that's the way you have to approach mitzvahs. This unbelievable teiva you get, this opportunity you have, that's the way you approach mitzvahs. When you approach your avodas Hashem throughout the day in a specific area, we'll speak now about tefillah, when you approach it, then it's no more the question, were you righteous or not? That's not the point. The point is, was I recognizing this teiva? And when you recognize the teiva, next time you approach this same mitzvah or the same opportunity, you will go deeper and you'll go more for it. This is not easy work. This is a work which I can't make that in these few minutes we have, but it's a work which is encompassing all of Avodas Hashem. And be'etzem, it's encompassing Avodas Hashem in a way which is a very elevated way to have Avodas Hashem. It could be that what the Astunis looks like, it could be that in the time when this whole work of Tov Vorah will be gone, yeah, you call that Yemois Moshiach in the Chazal. The Yomim She'ein Bohem Schus V'Loi Choivo. That's Chazal. That means there's a time in the world which there is no dealing with bad and there is no dealing with problems. What is then the Avodas Hashem? So the way it looks like in Chazal, the Avodas Hashem then is Hakoras HaToiv. But it's not Hakoras HaToiv of thank you. It's Hakora from this unbelievable Toiv which has no end. You could grow and grow more and grow more because it's such an unbelievable Toiv, such an unbelievable opportunity which every one of the Tariach mitzvahs gives you, which you have to relate to that opportunity. Mashgiach told me, I never saw it, but he told me that Chazal in a certain place call the Tariach mitzvahs Tariach eitzes, not Tariach obligations, no. Tariach eitzes. An eitzah is always that I show you you have an opportunity. That's an eitzah. I give you an eitzah means I tell you that, look, that would be good for you. You have to do something which you have a benefit out of it. So the mitzvahs are eitzes. The mitzvahs are opportunities. We are not using this face of Avodas Hashem. But when we want to prepare ourselves for a Rosh Hashanah, which perhaps the community will not be this 100% reliable thing which was beforehand. And I believe that in America there are places which things will be a little bit more spread out, or whatever it is. Over here, I was asked in the beginning, how is in Eretz Yisrael? That is one of the biggest problems in Eretz Yisrael, which everyone has, that there will be no yeshivas with minyanim for people from outside, and even people from the yeshiva, the bochim in the yeshiva, you know how that will look like. No one knows exactly yet, but it will be a non-regular situation. But it's not only because over here we have a non-regular situation. It's because you, wherever you are, when you are in Monsey, where you think it's over, or in Lakewood, where you think it's over, whatever it is, wherever you are, there was a time which this avodah was requested from the Beroilo. He told you, you can not only rely on the old way and only think, am I strong enough to do the old way even though it's difficult? It sounds to me like a thought process. I call that a linear thought process. Like you only have one way of thinking, and the question is of avodah, and the question is, where are you? Are you in the top or in the middle or in the bottom? And when you are in the bottom out of your circumstances, you have to push yourself further that you be further up. Yeah, perhaps there's another way. Perhaps this difficulty is not there in order to overcome, because there is nothing to overcome. You can't make a tzibur over here in Eretz Yisrael. You can't make a tzibur when it's also. You can't do it. So you can't overcome this problem. And then you say, no, you have to be like the tzibur alone. So, but how do you do it? Because the Torah says a tzibur is a tool which the Torah says it's an important tool. It's not only the myonis, it's an important tool. You have to have a tefillah b'tzibur. You have a hakel. You have aliyah l'regel. You have omdim tzfufim u'mishtachavim v'ravochim. You have all these things going on, that the tzibur was the core point of avodah. That was like this. When you went the way the Rav Moshe Weiss spoke about Sukkot, when you went to Sukkot, then everyone threw his lulav before Shabbos, and then you took the lulav and you were not able to recognize your own lulav, but it was all together, and everyone took the lulav which came to him. Yeah? The tzibur was a central part in keeping up Judaism, for sure. So you can't come and say only, you have to overcome the difficulty and push yourself. But I'm lacking a tool which the Torah says it's an important tool. So we have to face the problem. You can't just push yourself because there's something lacking. So what you do then? So I think one has to find a way that our avodah is creating this being touched throughout the Elul, throughout this preparation. When I would take a tefillah, and in my tefillah, I would focus, for example, on this, what I told you, that I focus on the word ato, you. How can I say you to the Beroilo? And I focus on that word. And I have 3 times a day tefillahs, and there are a lot of times you say ato, even in the middle. Ato choinodom, begin with that, and then by Rei, Vonenu, and by Foenu, and beforehand too, Sheleach Otto, and I think Nusach Sfard says even another time says also Atto, but you are saying Atto. You're saying Atto the whole time, and you'll be explaining how is that Torah, what is included in that, and you are perhaps learning something, you are mispoining on something, and then next time you are longing for that. You want that should happen again. I should meet this opportunity again, and then with the time you create that tefillah is touching you. It's not only whether I davened right, whether I had the right kavanah. It's an opportunity to be touched. And then you come to the Rosh Hashanah with the right preparation. And the tefillah in Rosh Hashanah will touch you, personally, will touch you, the tefillah Rosh Hashanah, because you prepared yourself that your derech avodah was an avodah which was based on an opportunity to be touched. And that is what is needed in Rosh Hashanah. So this is what I want to tell you as a preparation for Rosh Hashanah, especially for this time, which I think it's actual for everyone. It's an important thing for everyone. It's very actual once in certain places in America for sure too, which it's a little bit different, but over here that's all for sure too. And I think everyone went through this problem and has to measure up with that, what did the Borei Olam want from me? Only to be mischazek and say, Baruch Hashem, it's over? Or I learned something that I can approach Avodas Hashem in a different way. So this is what I want to tell you. Hopefully that is good for you. It's a change in our Avodas Hashem. It's supposed to be it's a big, big world. I myself didn't explore all of that by far. It's a big world of Avodas Hashem based on Akoros HaTov, but I think we have to begin this work towards Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, towards the Tfilas. That's what I want to tell you before this Rosh Hashanah. Hopefully that was a benefit, and thank you for listening.